Good morning. Today we're looking at this DEESPAEK, I don't know how to pronounce that, this lithium iron phosphate battery. It's a nice compact one rated at 10 amp hours of capacity, and we're just going to do a quick look at it here. Nothing fancy. I will mention briefly, came in a nice box with plenty of foam padding, so transport and packaging was all good. To do a quick informal test, what I've just thrown together here on the bench is I grabbed an old 9004 automotive 12-volt light bulb, good old fashioned one that draws a little bit of juice when it's on. I've attached some leads to it, and I've set up my multimeter in a amp reading capacity, and I currently have the light bulb and stuff here hooked up to a different power supply that is just off screen. You can see we're not hooked to the battery yet. I just want to show you that on our low beam, keep an eye on the multimeter. On our low beam, we're drawing about 3.3 amps. On our high beam, it's going to be a little closer to 5, 4.7 amps. And if I kind of put those together and run both filaments at the same time, we draw about 7.5, just over 7.5 amps. And then we start to scorch our cardboard. Saw a little puff of smoke there. This is not necessarily something you should try at home, but we're just poking around and looking at batteries here. So I'm going to disconnect that external power supply, and we're going to kind of reset up this experiment, but we're going to use our DEESPAEK lithium iron phosphate battery and see how it does. It should be able to do upwards of 10 amps output. I wouldn't expect that to be really an issue in any way for this thing. I'll try and bend this so the fuse is out of the way there. Looks goofy, but it's okay. Now, yeah, that should work. So I am using a fuse with these experiments. So we need to get our ground, we need to get onto the ground of the battery, which honestly might be easier just to do over here. And that needs to go to the multimeter. So try and get a good connection. These leads are kind of thin, but then we'll just kind of set that off to the side there. And then we're already got a wire hooked up to the multimeter here, so that just leaves me with my my low beam and my high beam probes, and I just kind of want to get to the other side of this fuse. Confusing circuit, I know, but it'll be okay for this brief testing. So we'll try the low beam, 3.5 amps. Looks good, no trouble there. We'll try the high beam, just about 5 amps, trickling down. And I probably should not have set this on cardboard. I don't want to burn my workbench either. We're almost done here though. The only thing I have left to do is to run both the high beam and the low beam filament at the same time for just a moment or so, and we will see what the battery does. 7.9, 7.86. Yeah, so drawing a small amount of current from it, at least briefly, doesn't seem to be an issue, at least up to 7.9, almost 8 amps. It's rated, I think, about 10, and I don't like to push it on these things, so that's probably the most that I would ever want to draw out of it. So it works as expected, I would say. Let me grab the leads and put the multimeter in a voltage mode. I did charge it up fully prior to this testing. It came at over 13 volts. We gotta go back to voltage mode. 13.25 we're at. I think it was higher than that at the start of this, but we did draw a little power from it, so that doesn't seem too bad. It's been sitting for quite a while. I mean, it's been well over a week since I last charged it, so looks like it does what it needs to do, and it is very light, very, very light and easy to work with compared to other batteries. I mean, you have something like, this like 18-pound Duracell here with 18 hours of capacity, very, very heavy. Well, in a sealed lead acid battery like this, you can only safely use half of the stored energy, so you get really 9 usable amp hours out of this very, very heavy battery. This is essentially the same amount of energy, or a little bit more, in a very lightweight 3-pound case, with the caveat being you can only draw upwards of about 10 amps continuous out of something like this safely. You could draw a lot more amperage through the Duracell, but a lot of the times for little projects we're not using a ton of current, so this is going to be great for lightweight on the go radio types of things and many other little projects, and it seems to work well.